So what on earth has happened to Anthony Yarde? For me, it's really frustrating to see that he's not actively fighting at the moment. He's such an exciting light heavyweight. He's got a great style. He talks the talk. He walks the walk. Would love to see him against his current crop of light heavyweights, but unfortunately, he's had some sort of contractual disagreement. Obviously, he's with Queensberry and Frank Rowan. They believe he's contracted to one fight left, but Yarde is claiming that no, he's a free agent. He should be able to try and look elsewhere. So that's very frustrating as a boxing fan, of course. And Yarde, I believe, was offered the Lyndon Arthur fight against Bivol, but I think he just said it wasn't right for him to take it. But it still shows that Yarde is in with all these top light heavyweights. And I think that, the best thing about Yarde is he gets a lot of credit for his losses. He went over to Russia to fight Kovalev in his backyard. And I remember the time, it was only him and his trainer that went. And, when they went, the dark arts started happening. Their luggage disappeared. People were offering them like drinks with lids that were opened, trying to make him ill at the hotel. He was having trouble getting things, and he went on, and obviously he did lose to Kovalev, but he nearly won. He got so close to winning. A lot of people think he could have won if he hadn't, burnt out his gas tank in the later rounds, and if he just tried to, calm the fight down and just see the last rounds out. Maybe he could have beaten Kovalev, but he decided to empty the gas tank. Didn't quite work out, and he lost. But a very respectful loss against a champion. A lot of fighters, probably would have ducked that fight, going to someone else's backyard, a tough fight, a tough bloke. And obviously his only other two losses were a split decision to Lyndon Arthur, which, I think was in COVID. I believe one of his family members had just died. And to Yarde's fairness, he went and, he knocked out Lyndon Arthur in their second fight. So, redeeming a loss, great to see. And obviously, he's lost to Beterbiev, who, we all know Beterbiev is a great fighter. And I think to show the standards of Yarde, just look at how much better of a job Yarde did on Beterbiev than, say, Callum Smith did. A lot of people thought that Callum Smith was going to beat Beterbiev. I remember the guys on TalkSport were saying that they thought that Callum Smith could catch him with his left hands. And obviously Callum Smith has a few good wins. He's beaten George Groves. Although George Groves was injured in that fight, I believe he was still having problems from his fight with Chris Eubank Jr. But Callum Smith and all the Smith brothers, top fighters. And look at how Beterbiev just demolished him. Smith said after, when Beterbiev touches you, it's just like a pitter-patter, pitter-patter. It's not necessarily really hard, but you just cannot get him off you. And that's eventually why he was knocked out. And, as a fight fan myself, I would love to see Yarde back in there with Beterbiev. Would love a rematch. See him against Bivol, Craig Richards. Obviously, Boatsi was a big one that was being talked about. But obviously, he's fighting Hutchinson. We'd love to see him in there with Hutchinson. Dan Aziz, even. There are lots of good fights out for Yarde. And it's just so frustrating that he's having this sort of contractual issue. It's difficult to say who's in the wrong. Obviously, I listened to Frank Rowan on a podcast saying that, Yarde is in the wrong. But obviously, Yarde went on Vidal Riley's podcast and he was saying, no, Frank Rowan was in the wrong. So, it's hard to know what happens. I guess if it was me, you just try and see out your contract with Queensberry. Frank Rowan's been good to him. He's got him a lot of good fights. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs, not being in either of their, teams. But, Frank Rowan seems to have been pretty good to him. You think if you just do one last fight for him, even if it's not, the exact fight you want or the money you want, you think you just see it through, right? But, we don't know the exact details of what is going on. So, yeah, just wanted to, give you a quick update on Anthony Yarde, and to see where he's at. Who would you want to see him in there with? I believe that if Yarde had beaten Kovalev, he might have even been in with talks to fight Canelo as well. So, a guy with a lot of potential. Maybe he goes up to cruiserweight as well. I believe we said on Vidal Riley's podcast that wasn't out of the option. So, I thought I'd just give you a quick update on Anthony Yarde and, why he's not been active recently. Obviously, Callum Smith as well. Find out who the best of the rest is. That's another great fight you'd like to see as well. And with Saudi in boxing now, it's just frustrating that we're not seeing him in action. But hopefully it gets sorted soon. I want to see him back. And yeah, comment who you'd like to see him fight in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.